Well, with the series all squared at 2, it becomes a best of 3 as I'm pleased to welcome in Cam Moon from 630 CHED here on the Oilers TV live pregame show. I'm your host, Tony Barth. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Tuesday morning. Now, best of 3, Cam, heading into the rest of the series, I should say. And the Oilers, they worked for home ice advantage. So that means, if necessary, they'll play 2 of the next 3 here at Rogers Place.
Yeah, and hey, that's what the regular season's all about, trying to get that advantage. And the Oilers earned that right. And you don't want it to go to a Game 7, but it might very well. This is an incredibly close series, even with the games not being very close, except for Game 1, which is a bit bizarre. But we've seen that in a lot of series in the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. I would expect a very loud, a very raucous atmosphere. Games 1 and 2 were very much that way. I would expect more of the same, and hopefully from the Oilers' point of view, that helps fire up their spirits and have them ready to go tonight.
Well, a couple of players looking to lead the Oilers to a decisive Game 5 victory are, of course, Connor McDavid and Duncan Keith, and that's who we'll be hearing from this morning here from the Oilers media room. But getting back to what we've seen in the last 4 games, Cam, it seems like special teams is a big component for the Oilers, because when the power play is going, you mentioned it, that means the Oilers have a better chance of winning.
Yeah, they go 0 for 3 last game, and ultimately never did score on Jonathan Quick, who picked up his 10th career shutout in the Stanley Cup Playoffs.
Yeah.
And had they been able to score a power play goal, does that change things? Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. And over the course of the season, the power play had been an asset for the team. It had been something that helped them win games or get back into games. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case in Game 4. They've got 5 power play goals in this series. I mean, the first unit's got 3 of them. Second unit's got 2 of them. So that second unit's starting to chip in. I think that's a key for the team's success. In tonight's game, they might need a power play goal or 2, or at the very least be able to gain momentum off the power play, which they've done, but they didn't get to do in Game 4.
I like what Bob Stauffer said on the post-game show from a couple of nights ago, and he said not only were the Oilers not able to get momentum on the power play, it almost seems like it took it out of their game as well, because they weren't able to generate any confidence from that.
Exactly. And if the power play is going against you, so if it isn't even a saw-off, if it's gaining momentum for the other team, now you're really doing yourself a disservice. So I think it's important for Edmonton, when they get the opportunity tonight with the man advantage, they've at the very least got to gain momentum.
Well, the Oilers are obviously looking for a different result from Game 4 and also deploying a different lineup today. It looks like there's a little bit of shuffling going on. No new players inserted outside of Derek Ryan, who of course missed Game 4 with an undisclosed injury. But the top line of Yamamoto, McDavid, Kane, and then the rest of the top 6, McLeod jumps in the top 6 with Draisaitl and Hyman. What do you make of those changes that we've seen from Woodcroft this morning?
Well, I love the speed of Ryan McLeod in the top 6, and at times it looks like maybe Jesse Puljujärvi has fought it a little bit. This will, put him in a situation where you hope he can have success with it, and absolutely looking forward to that. But that speed of Ryan McLeod, I think, is huge. He helps the top 6. Love to see Derek Ryan back in, not only for his tenacious play on the puck, but his ability to win faceoffs when you need that. And I know the Oilers had struggles in the faceoff circle in Game 4.
Especially in Games 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes he'd be deployed out there with McDavid and Kane just to take a defensive zone draw on the right side. So obviously a big asset for the Edmonton Oilers coming back in the lineup. But that third line, Archibald, Nugent-Hopkins, and Puljujärvi. What do you think of that line? Because that ultimately could be the X factor in whether the Oilers win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That line, they'll need to be good. They'll need to have positive shifts. Even if it doesn't result in goals, it most certainly can't result in goals against. But great if you could gain momentum from that line. Well, we're going to see what they can do. But, looking forward to seeing what they will do and how effective they can be, because it is important for the club to have time in the offensive zone when that team is on, or when that line is on the ice.
Let me ask you very simply, from Game 4, what needs to change for the Oilers to come out on the right side tonight?
Well, we talked about the specialty team, so the power play needs to be effective, absolutely. But I think that desperation give the Los Angeles Kings credit.
Yeah.
Their desperation level in Game 4 was great. The Oilers didn't match it, especially early. Oilers got outshot 20-10 in that first period. And yeah, the Kings put it on net from everywhere, sure. But they had the puck a lot. And you could just see that desperation in their game. The Oilers have to get to that level. I think that's important for them. And being at home and with the crowd and the noise, is that going to help? You sure hope so. But I think ultimately it comes down to that work rate and that desperation.
Can you talk about the importance of the first goal in this series? Because the team that scored first has won every game. And especially when you look at the playing style of the LA Kings, you know, they play that conventional 1-3-1. They clog up the neutral zone, very hard to penetrate. But once you get that opening goal, maybe open things up. You know, well, I'll get your commentary on that right away, just because the captain, Connor McDavid, has arrived here in the Oilers media room. Let's head to the podium now.
Hey, Connor. How's it going? Obviously, a big night. Game 5 is always a pivotal game. We talked earlier in the series about not getting too high, too low, and trying to keep an even keel. How important is that going into the series, considering what happened in Los Angeles?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we had a good one in Game 3 there, and not so good one in Game 4, and we come back even. So obviously, a big game tonight.
Do you look at that last game as you guys they were a desperate team? You guys didn't play as well as you could, but if you play as well as you could, you should be able to come out on top. Or how do you kind of approaching this game here tonight?
Well, every game's different, and you know, I thought Game 4, I thought you know, they were the better team all night. You know, they worked harder. They were a little more desperate. You know, tonight, but tonight I think you know, we got to be the desperate team. You know, we're playing at home, and we got to be ready to go.
Connor, the middle of the ice in the offensive zone, getting pucks there, getting yourselves there. You know, what do you need to make sure you're doing to create opportunities from inside?
I think we've created plenty of opportunities, and we've scored lots of goals. You know, so I don't think offensively that's an issue. You know, preventing them from getting their chances is obviously what we want to focus on, and you know, continuing our hard track, and you know, not allowing entry into our zone, and you know, making it hard on their offensive guys.
There was tenacity in your game, turning over pucks and that extra work ethic, kind of that desperation. I don't know if it wasn't there in Game 4, but do you feel like maybe it wasn't featured as much, and that's important for you guys to have?
Yeah, it's definitely important. You know, that level of work, you know, is what you need at this time of year, and we didn't have it in Game 4, and you know, I expect to see it tonight.
Connor, around the league in the first round, there's no momentum for these teams. One team wins by 3, lose the next game by 3. Is that unusual for you? Usually when a team gets the other team down, they just keep rolling. So what's happened in your series, maybe all the other series? It just seems so odd.
That seems to be a pattern throughout the league. You know, I don't know, obviously don't know why that is. I think it shows that each game is different. You know, there's not momentum from game to game. It's you know, each game is its own thing, and you know, you have to be able to bring it each and every night.
There's a nice picture of you hugging Ben Stelter last game, you know, in the hotel lobby. Did you guarantee him a win tonight?
No, I did not. We weren't necessarily talking about hockey. Obviously, he's on a fun trip for him and his family at Disneyland, and you know, just wanted to see how his trip was going, and make sure that they were having fun.
Thank you.
Connor, it looks like Yamamoto's going to be back playing with you. You've played with him at different times this year. He's a very unique player in that he's smaller, but he really plays inside. What do you like about playing with Yamamoto? What element does he bring that's different?
He makes plays. You know, he's a guy that keeps the puck alive. You know, works hard, gets on the forecheck. You know, similar to Jesse. You know, but you know, I like playing with both. But you know, tonight I guess Yam was a guy.
You look at how the series has gone, and in a lot of the games you guys have had more chances. You've been good at not giving up a lot of chances. In Game 4, that was reversed. Do you feel that in the game? Is it frustrating when you know that you're just not playing your way? And is that a momentum thing? Have you felt that before in the playoffs where it's just not your night and you can't get out of it?
You know, I thought we did a lot of good things kind of throughout the second period there. I thought we gave ourselves a couple chances that we could have finished on, and I think that would have changed the game. But sometimes it just doesn't go in, and they played a good game. They were solid. Their goalie played well. They did a lot of good things. They're a good team, and they're going to have their pushes too. So that was obviously their push, and we got to respond.
I don't know if you've ever been involved in a series where when you win by 6, and when you don't, the other games you haven't won. I guess I try to get a read on what does it mean to you? Like, do you guys feel like when you play well, you're the better team and you're going to win these games? Is it, does winning by 6 mean more than winning by 1 when it happens this way?
A win is a win, no matter how many goals is the difference. It's just kind of worked out that way. We've played 2 good ones and we've played 2 mediocre ones, and you guys obviously know the results. So obviously we're looking for a good effort tonight.
When your coach swaps the lines around just a little bit, moves some guys around, some pieces around, what's the dynamic in the room? What's the dynamic, on the bench? How do the guys, what does it say to the players, and how do you react to it?
I don't think it's anything new. This is not the first time that, the lines will be like that. I think all the lines, it's been that way at least some point throughout the year. So it's not like, this is just something that is random. So, when you have a performance like Game 4 and you don't get the result you're looking for, I would think you'd expect changes, and obviously a few little tweaks here and there, and we're looking for a bit of a spark.
And there was Captain Connor McDavid talking about how he feels like his team has played 2 good games and 2 mediocre games, and that's why we're tied here at 2-2 heading into Game 5. Now, we want to talk about the importance of the first goal, and I apologize in advance if I have to cut you off if Duncan Keith
who knows?
walks, so we will get Duncan Keith next. But the importance of that first goal. I mean, the LA Kings, they clog the middle. They play a 1-3-1 system, and if the Oilers score first, they kind of have to open up a little bit.
It does change the dynamic if you give up the first goal. It's funny, in this series, the team that has scored first has scored twice. Yeah. At all 4 games, the team that has been up 2-0, whoever that may be.
Yeah.
During the regular season, Oilers, 29 times they scored first and they won. But 20 times they didn't score first and still won.
Yeah.
So I think the sample size and what we have so far in the playoffs is pretty small. But the fact that each team has scored twice when going ahead is a little bit of a different twist to it. But yeah, it does change the dynamic. If the Kings score first, they can certainly play a very defensively responsible structure that is difficult to work through. But Oilers have to find a way. And that's the thing. If you give up the first goal, hey, you give up the first goal. And if you give it up 6 minutes in, you've got 54 minutes to change things, and you got to find a way to do it. No team has done that so far in this series, but that doesn't mean that they can't.
You mentioned off the top of the show that the Oilers were unable to match the desperation levels of the LA Kings. And I like what Connor said there. He said, we played pretty well. We gave ourselves a chance in the second period, but ultimately stymied by Jonathan Quick, who seems to be channeling his 2014 self at points in this series because he's fresh off his 10th playoff shutout.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the opposition, and that was just some performance by Jonathan Quick. Yeah. And he's done it time and time again in the playoffs, and when his team really needed a victory, really needed a big effort in goal, he came up with a huge effort and absolutely had a lot to do with that win for the Kings. At the other end, Mike Smith played great too. I thought he played really well in Game 4 and kept the Oilers in it. I mean, gave up 3. There was an empty net goal, but he battled incredibly hard, and he's been great in this series too.
Could this game ultimately come down to the goaltending?
Oh, yeah, absolutely it could. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
It usually does. And, maybe tonight is one of those. And maybe we'll get one of those really close, incredible, instant classic type of playoff games.
Yeah, looking forward
to that. Because, games 2, 3, and 4 there wasn't a lot of drama in the end. And, Game 1 had a little bit. Unfortunately, it didn't go the Oilers' way. But at some point, I think we're going to get a classic in this series, and it might be tonight.
It might be tonight, indeed. Of course, a decisive Game 5 coming up here tonight. It's a best of 3 the rest of the way. Duncan Keith is coming out very shortly here. Stay tuned here on the Oilers TV live pregame show. Cam and Tony here bringing you all the latest from the Oilers media room.
Hey, Duncan. Can you talk about this is, I don't know how many playoff games it is for you, but you have a young guy in Evan Bouchard who really seemed to elevate his intensity a lot in this postseason. He talked about conversations he had with you. I don't know if you want to shed some light on what those conversations were that really seemed to resonate with him, and how much do you take the leadership role as an important for you in this series?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot. I think all the defensemen have talked a lot, try to communicate as much as we can, especially with who you're playing out there with and trying to be on the same page. So, but I definitely take a lot of pride in trying to, be at my best to help my partner out, Evan. And I think it's overall, it's been a good partnership. We got to keep building and try to be better than we were last game.
Connor talked about how you guys obviously didn't play to the level that you wanted in Game 4. Sometimes it's as simply as just, they worked harder than you. How do you ensure your work ethic is back to the level you want tonight?
Well, I think we realize the situation right now, tied 2-2 in the series and back home here in front of our fans in our building. So try to use that energy and that in the building to our advantage and have a good start. I think our start's something that can be better, and look to do that tonight.
Dunk, just there's been some wild swings, not only in this series, but in other series where teams get blown out, then they get blown up. Everyone talks about keeping even keel in the playoffs, but is that easier said than done? How do you get rid of the last game, flush the last game, and focus on the next game? Is that tough to do?
Well, I think you always try to learn from every game, whether it's a win or a loss. But, there's a new game today. It was a new day yesterday. So, it's just play your best, do your best, and not worry about what happened in the past, whether it was good or bad.
You've done that obviously a lot in your career. How do you kind of pass that message on to some of the younger guys that haven't been in this situation before? This is a big Game 5, obviously. Big Game 1 was pretty big, but how do you kind of pass that on to these guys to just go out and play and do what they do best?
Well, I think everybody's, in the league for a reason, and some of that is just gaining some experience in playoffs, knowing that there's going to be ups and downs. Every team's good, so just a matter of not, like you mentioned there, not getting too high or too low after a win or loss, and going out there focused on what you can control and what you need to do out there.
Duncan, is this a different type of team to play because of the volume of shots? Like everything they get, they funnel to the net, and as a result, maybe they create a little bit more chaos. They're not necessarily looking to pass the puck. As a result, does it kind of change sometimes how you play against a team defensively because of their willingness seemingly to shoot from everywhere?
Well, I don't know if it's any different. I think you look around the league, and there's been lots of games where there's been lots of shots. I think that's part of playoff hockey, where you try to keep it simple and get the puck to the net and create off of a shot. Yeah.
I think sometimes we look at you like this old, wise veteran that's coming in here to teach everyone how to play playoff hockey and take Bouchard under your wing and all that stuff. Do you have to be able to play? Like, is what you're doing on the ice more or less important than what you're whispering in a young player's ear in the dressing room?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, it's it's just the biggest thing is trying to be at my best, and each individual being at their best. I think that's ultimately how you get the best out of your teammates. And you know, you can talk a lot and say different things, but you know, it's execution on the ice and making it easier on your teammate.
So the home crowd, you're going to come up for your home crowd tonight, and the place is crazy. I thought in game one that you guys didn't handle it very well. Those first couple shifts, you played like the crowd. You were all over the place, your team was. You went through this in Chicago. There was no louder building, right, for all those years than after Corneliuson sung his anthem and the place was crazy. Are you know, do you got to get used to coming out and starting a game and being structured when the building has that much energy in it?
Yeah, you got to just focus on the game. Focus, you know, it's sometimes, you know, I think that's part of, you know, getting shots on net. And you can see how the crowd reacts to, you know, a shot, and whether it's a dangerous shot or not. Sometimes there's reaction, and I think you get used to that as you go along. I don't want to say you tune it out, but you just focus on what's happening on the ice and not let anything distract you.
Duncan, you played a lot of playoff hockey in your career. How did these 4 games compare to those previous runs you've been on?
Yeah, all similar, fast pace. I think LA's got a quick team with a lot of good players, and it's a tough challenge, just like every series. So it's just a lot of the same in that regard, where every team's good, every team has great players on it, and there's no easy games.
Duncan, just over here to your far left, from travel day yesterday to meetings and morning skate this morning, how would you describe the pulse of your team heading into tonight?
I think it's good. Yeah, guys feel good. You know, it's nice to be back here in Edmonton. You get in your own bed and you know, be back in our building. So we're excited about that. Excited about the opportunity tonight and the challenge ahead. Thanks.
And there was defenseman Duncan Keith. Of course, he and Evan Bouchard probably looking for a little bit of a better performance here tonight, but they were excellent in a couple of games this series. So that's just kind of the ebbs and flows of playoff hockey, isn't it, Cam?
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's the thing with the playoffs. It's not always going to go your way.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to turn it around, and Duncan just talked about it. You got to have a short memory, good or bad. It's a new day. It's a new game. There hasn't been any momentum off of games in this series, and you could look at other series in the Stanley Cup playoffs and say the same thing, but this is a new game. What happened in game 4, that's over. Can't be dealt with, can't be changed, but you do have some ability to change things going into game 5.
Not just hockey advice, but life advice.
I think so too.
Right? Absolutely. Whatever happened in the past, you can't worry about it. And that's obviously the mindset that the Oilers come into game 5 with. But for a guy like Bouchard to be mentored by Keith, obviously when he came into Edmonton, that's a lot of the attractive qualities of bringing in a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, multiple James Norris Trophy winner. I mean, last game withstanding, Keith was excellent in the opening 3 games of this series, and that's really why Ken Holland brought him in, that championship pedigree.
It means a lot. It absolutely does, especially for a young defenseman like Evan Bouchard to learn from a veteran like Duncan Keith that has been through so many playoff battles, so many ups and downs, that calming influence is going to be absolutely huge. So that's going to pay dividends, not just what we see on the ice. I would think the dividends would continue to go throughout the dressing room.
All right, time for head coach Jay Woodcroft, who's standing at the podium now.
Hey, Jay. It looks like you made a small little tweak and kind of impacts all the lines with Yamo and McLeod and Puljujarvi and Derek Ryan. Can you talk about each one of those moves and what you're expecting to how that impacts each line?
Yeah, well, I'll just talk about it as a whole. Sometimes when you didn't play the way you wanted to, you shuffled the deck chairs, and that's what we did today.
What was the one thing that you want to see different tonight that was lacking in Game 4?
I'd like us to get the win.
Is there a quality in your game that wasn't up to snuff for you that you really feel needs to be at a higher level tonight?
I think for us, we have some areas of focus that we want to improve on. In the end, that game didn't go to according to script or according to our plan. We as a group have put the onus on looking at our game and talking about us and what we can do better. And certainly there's some areas that can improve.
With Kailer Yamamoto, that tenacious energy, turning pucks over, those sorts of things, when you play him with a player like McDavid, how can that skill set benefit Connor? And do you hope to see maybe a little bit more on the interior tonight?
Well, I think that line's been together on numerous occasions, and they've had some chemistry, and we're looking for them to have a good game tonight.
Jay, when you play a team 4 times in a row and going in on the 5th game, when it comes to adjustments, how much can you make, or is it just about the players got to do what you ask them to do? Or is there a lot of kind of going back and forth between you and Todd and as far as game planning and stuff?
I think as the series evolves, patterns emerge, and there are small adjustments that get made on both sides. As I said earlier, for us, our emphasis and our focus is on us, on the things that we can do better. And certainly there's some areas that we're focusing on.
Now, I know it can be a bit of a chess game. You've been on that other side, and you've kind of know the way Todd kind of thinks. Does that help you at all, or does that you don't even take that into consideration, I guess?
Well, I would say that the game's between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. It's not between the two coaches. I have experience with Todd. Todd has experience with me, but it's a series between LA and Edmonton here.
Jay, in the 2 wins, you had significantly more odd man rushes and scoring chances off the rush. What are you doing in those games that led to that? What did you like about your team that allowed you to have more chances off the rush?
Well, we found a way to win those games. I think each game, the way that it plays out is different. Each one of the 4 hockey games has played out differently. Even there were differences between game 2 and game 3. For us, as I said earlier, we're looking to continue to grow our game and to build our game out. And there's things that we feel we can do better, and we're looking forward to implementing them tonight.
Jay, you've got over here, you've got Jesse playing with Nugent Hopkins. Does Nugent Hopkins need one player on his team, on his line rather, who's got some definite offensive chops, which is why Jesse is there?
I think Nugent Hopkins has played exceptionally well in the 2.5 months that I've been here. I thought when he was hurt and not in our lineup, that was noticeable when Nuge wasn't there to anchor the 3-hole. I think he's somebody who makes other people around him better. And for me, I think, that line's been a good line for us. Nuge's line has been a good line. I think he found himself on the score sheet in game number 3 there. And it was through a bunch of hard effort. So I'm excited to see what he brings tonight.
But why is Jesse on that line with him?
Exactly what we said earlier in the press conference with when you don't find success as a team, sometimes you shuffle the deck chairs around a little bit. And for us, that we felt that this lineup gives us the best chance to win.
Thank you.
Jay, just back here. I hope I'm phrasing this correctly, but I believe in the past you said that you liked Derek Ryan more on the wing and you felt that suited him better. So what are you hoping to see from him out of the middle that he hasn't played there?
I think Derek Ryan's a Swiss Army knife type of hockey player, and him not being in the lineup in game number 4 was noticeable for us. I think he does a lot of things well, and I think if you've paid close attention over the last 2.5 months, while he might not start in the middle, there's lots of times he ends up in the middle. So he has experience doing both. And as I said to Jim, this is a good starting point for us, one that we feel gives us the best chance to win tonight's game.
Jay, we hear a lot about desperation and urgency when it comes to the playoffs. Why does that change from game to game, and how does a team get it back to that level again?
Well, that's a very good question. I think anytime a team comes off of a loss, their level of urgency goes up because there's only so many games to be played in a playoff series. So that's a natural human nature type of thing. For us, we've said it since Dave and I came up from Bakersfield for 2.5 months, which has been our focus is on getting better every single day. And there's ways you can get better coming off of a non-win. And for us, that's where we put our attention and our focus.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
And there was Oilers head coach Jay Woodcroft. He talked about shuffling up the deck a little bit. Now, if you're just joining us, Cam Moon obviously can't be here. He's got a broadcast meeting to go to right now. The projected lineup for Game 5 as deployed in this morning's skate. Evander Kane, Connor McDavid, and Kyler Yamamoto will make up the new look top line, while McLeod joins the top 6 with Draisaitl and Hyman. Archibald will skate on the left side of Nugent Hopkins and Puljujarvi. Meanwhile, Fogle, Derek Ryan, who makes his return to the lineup, and Zach Kassian round out the forward core. On defense, no changes. Nurse, Ceci, Keith Bouchard, Kulak and Barry, and Mike Smith in goal as the Oilers look for a big win here in Game 5. It becomes a best of 3. We are tied at 2-2. Be sure to keep it locked in on EdmontonOilers.com and Oilers TV for all your pregame coverage, including the pregame report with Mike Arcuri and Jamie Umbach. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Have a lovely Tuesday, and we'll see you right here for the Oilers TV live postgame show. Cheers.